Sun is shining on a rare Monday afternoon of live racing here at Gulfstream Park West. Pretty picture outside at about 11:15 this morning on this October the 12th. We are fast, we are good, and we are settling in over the next 5 hours or so on day number 8 of 40 here at GPW. Ronnie and Jason from our respective studios. And Ronnie, the lights are on, the starting gate will be in place, and we'll soak up the Columbus Day festivities here in Miami Gardens.
Yeah, once I see fast and once I see good and we get turf racing throughout the afternoon, I'm happy on Columbus Day.
I absolutely am. And we were just talking over before the show began, in fact. This might be, on a race-by-race basis, this might be the most difficult card I think we've had thus far this meet here at Gulfstream West. I mean, we've got 4 turf races, big fields, much like the first all day long. I mean, there's a lot of opportunity on this card.
Yeah, but you just have to really try and figure out, where you want to go. You got to sort of figure down post positions. Usually was okay, but we saw a horse win from post 12 last time out. So if you like horses from the outside, looks like they might have a chance on this turf course. Yesterday, the turf course was listed as good. I'm expecting it to sort of play the same this afternoon.
Fair enough. Now, we do also have, I mean, speaking of that green, and everybody likes that shade of green with the turf, but everybody especially likes the color of money, and we've got quite a bit of that waiting for you in the race for launching pad and jumping off point in today's $175,000 guaranteed Rainbow Six. Ronnie, as usual, will have his rainbow ticket forthcoming in just a few minutes. We begin, however, with my opening pick 5 ticket, in which I am using, and this is a very nice looking cast of 2-year-old maiden special weight runners on the turf at 5 furlongs. And you look around, I mean, you've got live contenders for Todd Pletcher, and that includes the 11 Spite, who's a favorite early on. Mark Cassie's got a horse in the 9 Kodiak Mamba, and Kelsey Danner has been doing a great job as my top pick in the 5 Dr. K. I've got 2 opinions, 2 horses I really like today, and the first of which comes in this opening pick 5 sequence. I'm a fan of Take Charge Dude, and I think conditions might be right for him to get back on his preferred surface and just wire that field in the second race. I like Take Charge Dude. I've got coverage the remainder of the way, but I mean, really, this play, Ronnie, is predicated on Take Charge Dude wiring that second race field, but we can't get up to him without discussing, again, a very competitive looking cast in this 2-year-old maiden special weight, where you and I both landed on a colt by Spitester in the 5 Dr. K, who just ran fine in a rained-off turf debut for Kelsey Danner. I would expect him turf-bound today, and likely turf meant from day one, to run even better.
Well, he's going to debut on the turf, as you mentioned, after rallying to finish second in front of next out Hollywood Beach Stakes winner. That was Omaha City. And then the next out winner in that race, CPA Genius. That was that 5 furlong turf sprint that was moved from the grass to a sealed sloppy track. So certainly flattered by those races. And as you mentioned, I think this horse was meant for the turf all along. Kelsey, good job. Angel Arroyo in the saddle.
And how busy a day is Anthony Scametta, who runs the show down here at PBD and over the summer with the Gulfstream string for trainer Todd Pletcher. I mean, that we're going to see Todd's name quite often this afternoon, and certainly the first race, he may have the favorite on the outside, who's got Edgard in the 11 Spite. I would go into this thing, there's 4 winning dirt siblings, and the dam herself won on turf and dirt, but I think you have to, assume this horse is going to be live and probably well-placed this afternoon.
Yeah, and working well both up at Saratoga, and then they shift the horse down here to work at Palm Beach down, so he's ready to run this horse. Edgard Zayas certainly adds to the appeal. The reason I mentioned at the top of the show, we say, post 11, we went through a summer worried about these outside posts, but we've seen a couple of horses from outside posts win right on this turf course.
Yeah, including Aguas Coloradas, who was a clear favorite in yesterday's 8th race, in fact, the turf finale, and she got a good ride from Sammy Camacho, winning from stall number 11. Cast of 6 as we attack the main track here, and really a likable crew of older horses and some hard-nosed veterans in this field of 7 in this starter optional claimer. By my count, because you've got no defections, 43 wins combined with this group of 7, and just a really likable field led, although we both picked Peter's horse, who we'll get to. we gotta pay our respects here off the bat to the soon-to-be 10-year-old by YYY in the form of Why Are You Awesome, who has enjoyed with Marcial Navarro the renaissance, and that culminated last time out in a very nice victory across town at Gulfstream. Had a good trip in an off-the-turf race, basically prompted the pace between horses at this point, and he will kick clear for lifetime win number 14. He's just in raging form, Ronnie, and you know what? I think Marcial has done such a job with this horse, and it's underscored by the fact that both today and the race we're looking at, he has not entered Why You Awesome for a claiming tag. He wants nobody to touch this horse. That's how good he's going.
Yeah, and he's dropping a little bit of a rung on the competition ladder today. Drew clear, as you just saw right there in that rained out affair. 14-time winner, Miguel Vasquez. Hard not to like this horse and have him prominently placed on your ticket. But as you mentioned, we both went with 6. Take Charge. Dude is dropping, going back to the main track. Followed a second-place finish at this level and distance on the dirt. Comes back, sets the pace, finishes 4th behind a couple of next out winners. I want to show you a stat with Peter Walder going from turf to dirt. Sprints, he's good. 10 for 35, 29%, 51% in the money, and still a positive ROI of 346. I always like Peter when he does this kind of a surface switch.
And he's getting it, or at least doing it, with a horse that is very fast. I mean, this horse, when he's on his game, can light up the track out there. He's that quick and that alert of a breaker. I've always felt, although he can go 6 on the dirt, I've always felt this was a distance on the main, mind you, that is pushing it a little bit as far as how far he wants to go. He has won at this trip before, but what gives me some confidence is this has just been a main track where horses with his running style have been flattered over the last week and change, and I just think the conditions are right for Take Charge Dude to notch that 8th lifetime win against a good field in that Monday second. We'll move on to the turf here for race number 3, and another maiden turf race with a big field coming up. You've got 10 to choose from on a card. I mean, how few defections were there, Ronnie? What were there, 5 scratches altogether on the program?
Yeah, and they were in like race 7 and 9, and 3 of them were also eligible.
Yeah.
So really only about 4 scratches on the whole card.
Definitely. And a good race as we continue what is a pretty challenging early pick 5. You and I both landed on the same horse, evidently, in the number 2, Laughable. And it's funny, Todd Pletcher, in a way, I mean, really has his fingerprints on this race, because we both took the E5 horse off a trainer change and about 11.5-month layoff for Safi, who's a former Todd Pletcher trained filly by Distorted Humor. Yet the Pletcher barn is also in the mix here, sending out the Bernardini homebred by again, Bernardini homebred for Shadwell. Let's talk, though, with Laughable. What do you like about this filly as she's in off a lengthy layoff?
Well, yeah, as you mentioned, going into Safi's bond, $300,000 daughter of Distorted Humor. He returns from the lengthy layoff. Look at that form she displayed in a 3-race campaign up on the New York turf circuit, under the care, as you mentioned, of Todd Pletcher. The barn is good with about 30% or more with new additions to the shed row. Coming off the bench, so you got to expect that maybe this horse might need a race. I just thought that this horse, off those performances up New York, I'd put her on top of my ticket.
And I noticed Safi off trainer changes with horses returning off a 6-month layoff or greater. He's 4 for his last 11 for just under 40%. So this is a move that, he's getting some horses that likely have some good pedigrees and likely showed a little bit of talent, but maybe just fit a little bit better on this circuit at this time of the year, and a move he's done pretty well for himself. So we'll take the number 2, Laughable, and congrats to E5. I noticed on Twitter yesterday, Gibberish, who was so good in the 3rd. She was E5's 100th career winner since becoming owners in this great game.
It's pretty nice. 100 wins at their home track, Gulfstream Park West. This is their home city, so it's very good for them. And you're talking about Todd. He's got the first-time starter in there, and I hope it's Aquarib. How do you think they say that? Well, we're going to find out from Pete in a couple of moments. First-time starter. I want to show you a stat on Todd Pletcher with his 2-year-old first-time starters on the turf right here at Gulfstream Park West. He's 3 for 14, 21%, 50% in the money. 168 is the return of investments. Not any kind of stat that would make you dash to the window, but he's done it and he's won with a couple of them.
Yeah, and I noticed overall he's 4 for 34 with his Gulfstream Park West first-time starters in general. That goes for turf, dirt, 2-year-olds, and 3 and up. So 15%, pretty average move for the barn. And, you know, looking at the pedigree, clearly you've got a Shadwell homebred. The family has been hit or miss in a big way. There are a number of long-time but well-bred maidens in the immediate family of this filly. The one star happens to be Shaggoff, who was pretty good for a short amount of time for Chad Brown. We'll see how the Bernardini firster does. And I thought the 9 Chardonnay would run well here for Carlos David. I don't love that he was willing to run her for a maiden claiming tag across town in a race that got rained off. But her one turf race so far back last December was a respectable effort. As we take a little breather here, we'll chase the rainbow with the $175 in the pool on this Columbus Day after this. Finishing off a 6th consecutive live day racing week here at Gulfstream West. 9 races on a 4-race, or a 4-turf race, I should say, Monday afternoon. Jason and Ronnie, welcome back, everybody, to this Columbus Day edition of GPW Today. The guarantee grows, Ronnie, in this jackpot Rainbow 6, $1.25 yesterday. It's $175 this afternoon, and how's the ticket looking?
Well, I had to go dig up a little can in my backyard because I stepped it up to $57.60.
It's that kind of card, man. It really is. Yeah.
So I was just going to say, you know, it belies what we were saying earlier on. It's tough. Now, he went too deep in here with Gravel Gertie and Naturel, the Ecuadorian bred. I think we both used similar horses in race number 4. The 5th race is just a great 5-furlong turf sprint. There's so many different ways to go. I did go 4 deep in there, but my top pick is Awesome View, the 6, along with Speedy Fire, but I wanted some coverage. In race number 6, I went with the inside horse, Nicholas Rose, now in Herman Williamson's barn. He did this once before, a couple of days ago, and won.
And beat you.
Yeah, he beat me.
A dirty nose.
Yeah, you had to remind me.
You brought it up.
5 of Hearts and Cozy Boy. And then in race number 7 today, I think Baccarat Fashion's been a big favorite in there, but I used Beast of Wildwood. Long shot today is Louis Legrand in there, the 7 horse, but I had to use Ralston from Carlos David. And Cajun Brother, boy, that course was good when he broke, I think when he broke his maiden or whatever, he was really unbelievable. And in race number 9, just too deep in there with Honorable and Uncle Fun, talking about that's Liz Dobles, and the 1 is Todd Pletcher.
Yeah, that is a tap first-time maiden claiming a drop down in the last race, who's probably going to be a maybe not sizable favorite, but a favorite by a comfortable margin, and that's down the line. And Todd, obviously, with bookending turf maidens on today's Columbus Day program. We don't have a Pletcher horse bound for today's 4th as we chase the rainbow. What we do have is a situation where there are 2, I feel as though better looking horses on paper than the field, and that happens to be the Ecuadorian bred, the 2 Natural, who, if he's ready to go off that July 4th layoff, this is the spot for him. And clearly you prefer the recency of the 7 Gravel Gertie. For me, Ronnie, and evidently you, I had a tough time getting cute with this race where the 2 they're going to bet look like the best 2 by, again, a wide swath.
Yeah, Gravel Gertie going back to the main track after hitting the board in one of the 2's recent turf sprints. Again, similar for Emmett Jolly, MCL Jaramillo, Naturel, as you mentioned, Trini Cutie Pie. If you do have a single in the Rainbow 6 or even the late pick 5, here here's where you might want to go a little deep. I have not that much confidence in those two picks.
No, that's what it boils down to. It's hard to love anybody there. Again, the 2 and 7 look better than the others, but yeah, that could be a chaos race where somebody steps up out of the woodwork. We'll see in that fourth race at around 2 p.m. The fifth, meanwhile, we're back on the turf here, and a lot of turf early on. In fact, there's 4 grass races altogether. 3 of them are in this early pick 5. Now, coincidentally, we'll start the later sequence in the pick 5 with a cast of 2-year-old filly, $25,000 to $20,000 maiden claimers, and I use 3 here. There's 2 horses that I like a little more than the others, who I'll elaborate on in a second. But for the most part, I want the speed. I want the speed of the 11 World Gone Wild. My second real opinion today, joining Take Charge Dude in the second, is Nicholas Rose from the rail in the sixth. I think this horse is going to be favored this afternoon. I really do. A difficult race, maybe not a huge favorite, but I do think he's going to be the horse to beat, and a lot of people are going to like him for the same reasons. Ronnie and I both picked him as he dips in for $25,000. Couple deep in the 7th race. I mean, look, Baccarat Fashion is like 90% of that field, and how you feel you should proceed as she takes a precipitous drop to 62.50. 3 deep for me in the 8th race. That's another solid dirt race with a fairly eclectic cast, and then I'm using the white bridles in Mr. Todd Pletcher and Mike Maker. 1-3 for me, 3-1 in the Monday nightcap. But in talking about this 5th race, you know, my top 2, Ronnie, I went the 11-horse World Gone Wild over Ralph's horse in the 6 Awesome View, and I kind of felt like I had the best of both areas or worlds in this race, where, I mean, as far as prior turf form goes, Awesome View off that effort here September 3rd at Gulfstream Park is the best looking filly to beat in the race, but I'm looking for Miguel. I think Miguel, in my mind, you got one job here with World Gone Wild. Get to the lead and just try to wire this field. Even if you got to go 20 for the opening quarter, you got to get this filly to the lead. I'm going to take her again to wire from the outside.
Yeah, that's why I went 4 deep on my Rainbow 6 ticket. But for those reasons, I wanted the speed there too. But I did go with Awesome View. He's a solid second, as you mentioned, against those 40 maidens when sprinting on the grass. A couple of starts back, drops, turns back to 5. I took sort of a sightseeing trip last time out when facing 40 types, going a mile for Ralph. Embassy Al Jaramillo handling the shorter distance. Speedy Fire had some interest in there. Is another drop into this level. Shipped down from Tampa, had some trouble, finished 5th against 40 maidens. But I think Awesome View and maybe the 11 because of the speed are the 2 ones you have to really look at in this spot.
And speaking of speed, I would imagine as we flip the page and move on to Monday's 6th race, Nicholas Rose from down inside may have plenty of that. And if I'm Victor LeBron, I may just try to send this horse and let the chips fall where they may. I like that the connections hit the reset button. This horse had debuted in early January in a race that was pretty tough at the time, won by Cross Court, who looked like a 3-year-old Florida bred that might have a big 2020. He kind of fell off the face of the earth. I hope he's doing okay and can rejoin us at some point in a Florida bred race. But, you know, Nicholas Rose came back in late August and was better than ever and really grew up and matured and beat a 1-5 favorite that afternoon, an easy day. I had liked him last time out. We'll bring you the race from September the 11th. And it was a race where just very little went right for him from this point on. He had fallen into a fairly decent trip, just tracking down in the pocket inside. You can start to see this race bunch up, though, and clearly a situation in that green cap behind the horse with the white blinkers, the number 3. I mean, he's just completely brick-walled as that race is taking shape with wide outside ralliers, Ronnie, running 1, 2, 3. I mean, he was buried inside. I think with the cleaner trip, good spot for him to get back on track.
Yeah, he tried to get through on that inside, but just the outside horses had that first run and just beat him to the wire in there. So, and I just had, like you said, Herman beat me the other day, and you saw the trouble his horse had last time out. I went with the 4-horse in second, 5 of Hearts, is going to the Darian Rodriguez barn after claim, stepping up after tracking the pace, finished 4th behind that repeat winner, Are You Lucky? 16 sprint. Miguel Vasquez in the saddle. I thought maybe this horse can grab a share of behind Nicholas Rose today.
Baccarat Fashion. Let's move on to the 7th here on this Fast and Good Monday at GPW. 62.50, 3 and up filly mare claimers, and the aforementioned Baccarat Fashion is 90%, maybe upwards of 90% of the puzzle here, and ultimately she is in a spot that had 3 early scratches, and I felt as though an impactful one in the 9 Solid as a Rock, who I liked a little bit. In fact, I had her second in this race behind Baccarat Fashion. She's going to get claimed today. There will likely be a big shake on her this afternoon in Miami Gardens, and I think going into this, she's kind of like a bundle of contradictions, Ronnie, because in a way she's impossible to bet against, but she's a little tough to bet on too because they're almost giving her away for six G's.
Well, she's making a local return at 3/4 of a mile today and plunging to this level, as you mentioned, after ending a campaign across town with that 4th place finish behind that repeat winner, Cora Girl, in front of a next out winner, Choose Joy. That was that optional claimer going 6.5 on the slop. Mike Maker, Hector Berrios handling the drop down today. Thought it was the logical one. Also used the 8, who you have a little further down. I had the 9, actually, that scratched in 3rd. Beast of Wildwood is dropping to this level, and I found a stat on Gilberto Zerpa. This is second after the claim sprints on the dirt. He's 17 for 47, 36%, 66% in the money. 172 is the return investment. That's second after the claim. So I bumped this horse, had him in second all along, I say. Then I had the 3rd, so I bumped up the 2, Gilda F, into my 3rd spot.
Who's got speed along with the 8 Beast of Wildwood, and that might be the other hang-up, which we should probably mention quick with Baccarat Fashion. Maybe pace and all that stuff won't even matter because she's just too good for these horses for the 62.50. Yet, if I'm in the camp of Gilda F and Beast of Wildwood, I guess I'm on a mission to just try to get in front of her. And we've seen crazier things happen where less talented horses, Ronnie, potentially wire fields with a big favorite who's just got too much to do from the back of the pack.
Yeah, I just took a quick look, and Festo Gutierrez, who's the trainer of the 2, he's 3 for 9 with the 61 to 180 day layup. This one coming off the bench this afternoon.
Now, Cajun Bro is coming off the bench as well. He's been laid up about 3.5 months, and he is wound up in a very difficult 8th race, fairly late in the program. This will be the Columbus Day finale on the main track in this $25,000 optional claimer. And you and I both taking different horses. In fact, I don't have your 7 horse. Is he your long shot today, Louis Legrand?
Yeah, 15 to 1 on the morning line.
Yeah, you know what? Let's start with him, and we'll work our way down to the more, I guess, shorter-priced horses. But, I mean, enlighten me. Is this just a case where mile might have been too far for him?
Well, he's turning back to what looks like his best distance this afternoon after showing speed and fading. That was going that 1-turn mile across town against 25 optional claimers, Terry Pompey, Lionel Reyes handling. It's just one of those moves that I like, turning back in distance, going to 3/4 of a mile. And just the fact that I'm going to looking for a price in here. And everybody in the race, he's got excuses. I mean, Cajun Brother, we're going to show his last race, but, he was bad in the carryback, but that's a lot tougher competition.
Yeah, that's the thing. He's an interesting horse, and maybe in a race that's got quite a few layers to it. Maybe in a way Cajun Brother is the biggest wild card because he began his career unbeaten after 2 and will, in fact, go back to the middle of April. And I get some may look at this replay and say, well, what's the relevance of showing this race back in April? He's run twice since then, and, I mean, he just was a non-factor going a mile in May and then was just a complete no-show against Double Crown and Whitburv in the carryback. I'd like to think there's a case where this horse has been laid up, and Mike Yates said, you know what, maybe it was a little too much too soon for Cajun Brother. He won his 2 starts sprinting on the dirt, including that race back in the middle portion of April. They tried him going a mile, and he had all that trouble. He wasn't going to win anyway, but he had all that trouble where he smacked the rail turning for home, and then the carry back, he may have just been a little over the top, recalibrated this afternoon, and I'm thinking he's going to come back and run a big race, as well as the 5 Ralston. I'm happy to see you've got him so highly rated, because he doesn't look overpowering on paper, yet I felt as though maybe a change of scenery to Carlos David, who we know has got just gargantuan numbers with new acquisitions, maybe that would serve to get that horse back on track. I mean, I'm going, Ronnie, to 2 horses that their recent form is a little little shaky, but are both coming back with changes that I think will help them.
Yeah, no, Ralston now, and you got Carlos Davis bought, as you mentioned. That was those 75 optional claimers. You mentioned he's really good with new additions to the shed row. You got to like the fact that Edgar Zayas is in there. Cajun Brother, for all the reasons we're just showing. Ralston, changing Barnes, dropping down. That's why I tried to look for a long shot in here with Louis LeGrand, because they come with some questions.
No doubt,
and maybe
they
I can
do.
get this horse in the turn back to score and maybe spring an upset in there. But did I leave? I did not leave 5 or 6 off my Rainbow Six ticket for that reason.
No, absolutely. That is a very salient point there as far as the question marks with my top 2 horses. And what do you do quickly with the 3 Mozzo Bello, who I guess my take all along on him was incorrect or just a bad take, because I tend to like a lot of those Peter Walder new claims, and did not think this horse wanted to go 6 and did not want to go that distance on the dirt, yet he beat a good field, that September 10 Arriva Durla race, and got a good figure, and he's now off the claim for Ruben Gracida. Does he potentially come back as maybe a late career sprinter on the dirt? Was this what he wants to do all along, perhaps?
Well, we'll see Mozzo Bello. So we have him. I have a little further down the ticket than you did because of my long shot. But when I was doing this race, I thought he had a shot and had him in 3rd, but bumped him back when I think I found the long shot for this race, which is Louis LeGrand.
We've got Todd Pletcher, not with the long shot, but teaming up with Edgar Zayas, and I think Pete's got them 9-5 or 8-5 here from the rail, riding and teaming up. In fact, Edgar will be riding our top pick, and Todd, of course, teaming up with Edgar on the 1 Honorable, our top selection from the inside post. I didn't want to send in a stat for a horse who could be as low as 6-5, but I was looking 2-year-old maiden special weight to maiden claiming for Todd, just in general. He's 20 for 46 for 43%. These horses tend to win for the barn, so I'm going again, D. Wayne Lucas University with Todd on top of Mike Maker's horse, the 3 Liam Starr, who's a second-time starter.
Yeah, he looks like the one to beat. I also used that 12 Uncle Fun on the ticket. Excuse me, he's debuting locally, breaking from the outside today, rallied along the inside to finish 2nd at this level and distance. It's Liz Doble's Angel Arroyo negotiating the outside draw. Thought maybe that one could grab a share. You got it a little further down on your ticket.
I liked his race. I really did. Last time out, he was wired by Politicum, who didn't set that fast of a pace. That was a good effort in a race he just had no speed to run at over at Gulfstream from the number 12 Uncle Fun. As we continue on with the fun, as you would say, Pete Aiello, in fact, his nickname is Fun, and he's coming up next with those Monday scratches and changes.